Namaskar. Ask not what the Biden administration did. Ask what the Biden administration did not do. Having used USAID for various purposes, then they turned their attention to other departments, many departments. And as the DOGE starts looking into all these things, these are all actually financial transactions. Panic is setting into the Democratic camp. You can see in this slide deck, we're going to show 3 such instances. This is just the beginning. I think as time goes on, you are going to see more and more egregious conduct of the Biden administration in trying to divert funds from what they were originally intended for. And this has some disastrous consequences, and I'm going to talk to you all about that. So let's take a quick look at this. I have a small slide deck. We'll take a look at that, and before that, please like this video. Here we go. Which are the departments from where funds were appropriated for purposes other than what they were intended for? See, the Congress does the allocation, how much money each department was, and it expects them to spend it on that cause, not on something else. You with me so far, right? Let's take a look at it. First one, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. You know what happened in one state when hurricane damage struck? FEMA did not have money. FEMA didn't have funds, but they tried to avert it. They tried to obfuscate that. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. We're going to go through that in great detail. Also, Social Security Administration. This is a holy cow, literally. Because what happens in Social Security Administration is that as you work, you start putting 7.15% of your salary up to a certain limit, and the employer, the person to whom you work for, matches that. So about 14% of whatever you earn gets put into this kitty, which you can start withdrawing from the age of 62 or 65, something like that. I mean, there are 2 or 3 entry points for retirees, and based on that, you get a certain amount of money. But if the government starts dipping its hands into that, then what happens is retirees don't get money. So they did this. Administration, the Biden administration did that. Also, Department of Education. I have a feeling Department of Education is gone. I don't think anybody can save that. Bye-bye to critical race theory, critical caste theory, any critical XYZ theory. I think it's all done, and there will be methods put so that nothing can be misappropriated. That whatever you are spending on, it is the only and one and only purpose for which that money is going to be spent. I'm sure something like this legislation is going to come, and you can even implement that. It's not that hard. What else is what we are going to cover maybe in our forthcoming episodes on this. So what happened in FEMA? FEMA sent 59 million to New York City luxury hotels for migrants. Remember, Sree Iyer and I used to outrage on. See, he lives in Manhattan. He's seeing this with his eyes. I mean, if you go to his complex and you see it from the roof, you can see the UN building. The UN building is like 1 mile from where he lives. And this is all like prime territory, for obvious reasons, right? I mean, all these countries have their offices, and many of the people stay there. And this place was going to hell in a handbasket. Not only that, the illegals were being put up in luxury hotels. One of them is the Roosevelt, which the Pakistanis own. And the administration was running out of money. So what they did was they took 59 million from the FEMA account to pay illegal migrants, to pay the hotels. This fund needs to be reversed, and that's what Musk is demanding, because it contradicts the president's executive order. Not only that, these are meant for disaster relief, not migrants. And Cameron Hamilton, acting FEMA administrator, promised accountability from those responsible. That's not all. The DOGE has been doing tracking of wasteful spending across various agencies. Now, Department of Defense is going to be coming under the scanner of the DOGE, and that's going to be a huge one. It has not been audited in a long time. In fact, it is rumored that, remember, there was a botched coup against Erdogan in Turkey. And it is believed that a US general landed in a plane with $3 billion to give it to the opposition side. It is believed. See, sometimes what happens is the original money will be X billion. The guy who carries it, the mule, the one that has the most amount of danger, will probably put some for himself or herself and then only give the remaining. And the person who receives it again sorts off maybe half. See, this trickle-down effect is a disaster. Sometimes this is why coups don't really work. Anyway, that coup failed. But Erdogan for some time was very unhappy with USA. And well, whatever you can say, the money has completely been gone. So these are all things. Where do you think the 3 billion came from? My hunch is Department of Defense. Now, Trump slams FEMA for poor disaster response, citing Hurricane Helene survivors. This is where, when they really needed the money, FEMA did not have the money. That's how this thing came to light. Unfortunately, it was still under Biden administration. They didn't help. Now, after coming to power, Trump has found money and he has disbursed the money that was to be given to the victims of Hurricane Helene. What Trump has done is he has formed he has written an executive order to form a council reviewing FEMA for its political bias and inefficiency, because they also said that only Republicans were denied these benefits. See, this is getting real out of hand. We have to treat human beings as human beings first. And I'm afraid the Biden administration has not covered itself in glory on that aspect. So when money started running out for funding the undocumented immigrants, the funds were redirected from various agencies. There also appears to be significant funds allegedly diverted from the Social Security to cover expenses for undocumented immigrants. This really gets my blood going, because SSA, like I said, it is a holy cow. You are not supposed to touch it. DOJ investigations to the Department of Defense could reveal further inefficiencies in government spending. You know, they used to joke, how did Roush Perot become a millionaire? Well, he became a millionaire by selling $700 toilet seats to the Department of Defense. $700 toilet seats. I'm talking about late 70s, mid 80s, when dollar had much more buying power. How can you? This is just a toilet seat, not the toilet itself. Okay, I mean, it beggars belief sometimes. DOJ is continuing to look into various spending issues. It is looking at government spending. Policy debates are being sparked now, and political clashes are happening. In fact, I'm going to come to Department of Education. A bunch of these congressmen and women from Democratic Party started protesting outside the door, and there was one guard who wouldn't let them in. Jan 6 opposite, guys. Jan 6 replayed by the Democrats this time. It doesn't get better than this. And they are really afraid. And I don't know how many more days we are going to come up with these kinds of revelations, where every day something new, some other misappropriation of one kind or the other is going to be coming out. Now, what is going to happen perhaps is, just like the direct benefits transfer in India, Trump may also start sending, for FEMA funds, for example, funds directly to the person's bank account rather than going through an agency, which begs the question, will FEMA be completely dissolved? Entirely possible. Now, $1 billion were given for DEI, 229 total, and the amount is 1 billion. And this was for hiring, programming, and mental health training in American schools. And the grants totaled 1 billion, 2 million, blah, 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 across 42 states and Washington, D.C. Here is the breakdown. All these things from PDE, Parents Defending Education report. That's the one that looked at all the stuff. The breakdown is as follows. About $500,000 for race-based hiring, $343 million for general DEI programming, $169.3 million for DEI-based mental health programs. All this gender change bullshit, all that stuff. PD argues that DE grants prioritize ideology over improving academic performance. Michelle Exner, a senior advisor to PD, calls it a farce that failed families when student performance actually declined. What are the future implications? Trump has pledged to dismantle DEI programs across the federal government. Plans to cut DEI-related funding in federal agencies, education, and military institutions. It also aims to eliminate race-based hiring and DEI-focused education funding, and it is reviewing various spending schemes for DEI policy, and I think most of those will be cut completely. And now what is going to happen is that you're going to have a lot of pushback from Democrats and civil rights groups, and they will oppose this tooth and nail. But so what? So what? This is all just a turning off a spigot. You can shout whatever you want. This is they are spread across the country, and there will be some skirmishes here and there. I think this is going to be something that will play itself out in the long run. That's all I have for you. Let me see if you have any questions here. Give me a second while I go through all the comments. There are a couple of questions. While you guys read these comments, let me just go and list out the questions for you. So one interesting thing that has happened in Canada, Canada has actually wiped out all details of foreign aid grants. That's another news item that is doing the rounds. Those who are living in Canada, maybe you can comment on what is going on there. What excuse me, what is Mr. Justin Trudeau trying to hide? So churn, and more churn. That's all I can tell you guys. Let's go to questions now. Partha wants to know how many Indian Americans have one foot parked in Bharat as insurance according to you? 25%? But that's a good question. I'm not so sure. 25% seems a little bit on the higher side, maybe 10%, maybe. It depends upon where you are in your cycle in terms of employment. If you're on H1 basis, then some people leave their families here and go for 1 year or so. Some people take their families when they are in their second term of H1, but then after that you have to start hopping jobs, or you have to find another job within the same company. It gets a little messy. That's all I can tell you. So maybe 10% have their foot parked in both places, meaning that they have actually having a house in India also, where they are probably paying rent or something of that nature. This is just a pure guesswork. It could be higher. I don't think it is lower than that. Anand Shivkumar says, can we expect any sort of relief for Indians who are waiting eternally for their green card? Trump talked about giving green card to MS students directly. Anand, this will probably be tied with the kind of deal Modi and Trump reach. Think about it this way. Supposing there is a new kind of visa called worker visa established, where that gives you permit to stay in the country for 3 years, or it could be a project-based thing. And after that, you are available for other things, and if you can get something else, you can continue that. But there is no track to green card. The reason I'm saying that is today the track to green card is going to take you 100 years. So it is just not there. And as far as Trump's promise to give green card to all MS holders, you'll have to wait and see how that plays out. First, this is a more immediate requirement of what Trump and Modi have to agree to, because Trump is planning a lot of big things. For example, reconstructing Gaza, for example, reconstructing Ukraine. Some way or the other, the bill will be footed in large part by the US taxpayer. So therefore, this is all going to require very dedicated, apolitical workforce. And I think that's where India really shines. So let's wait and see how that goes. Next question, again, Anand. Any reason why Trump is doing so many changes so quickly? Is he trying to overwhelm his opponents? Yes, I think that's what it is. You have to try and keep them off the balance so that they don't know which one to attack. And this is one way of going about doing it. Now what's going to happen is, you can see many of these things are being appealed in various courts of law. And if they have their homework done, then the courts will side with them, and then it becomes law. Then the Democrats will go to the next higher court, to the next higher court, and so on, until it goes to a full bench in the Supreme Court of the United States. But think about it. How many of these things do you think the Democrats are going to have the energy to fight? The same thing the Trump administration also, Trump team also did when they were trying to overturn the 2020 result. And that didn't go anywhere. After some time, they just got tired, and lawsuits kept coming. Trump got impeached, 2 times, 3 times? Nancy Pelosi's daily breakfast menu item was how to impeach Trump again. I mean, the lady had gone cuckoo, in my opinion, and she's still a congresswoman. Many people don't deserve, and the only reason they are hanging on is because they are corrupt up to their neck, and they are afraid that if they retire from politics, somebody else will come and open the can of worms. By the way, it doesn't matter, the can of worms is being opened. DOGE, Elon Musk is doing that. So just be on the lookout. We are going to have more stories, more revelations, because I'm going to start with one about a congressman who belongs to the Levi Strauss family. So that's going to air in a few hours. So do look at that one. Then you will see a lot of interesting things coming your way. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.